In this week's screencast, we'll be discussing custom template tags. We're also going to be continuing our project work with courtside. A custom template tag is a tag that you can pass data to from a template and have it call back to some Python and have it return your result and have that result be rendered. This is often useful when you're dealing with representation level code and how things are to be represented. In this particular example this week, we're going to be taking our non-localized date time that we have here for a particular game and localizing it to the viewing player's time zone. So this will allow a user to see what time a game is happening in the time zone they are located in. So I pulled up the HTML template for the page we were just looking at, and as you can see, we have the location for our address, we have the start and date time, we have the restrictions. The start and date time is the thing we're going to be working with. What we're going to be writing is going to be a template that takes in something like this. So we pass in the variable, the start time and date time from the object that we have here to some function that we'll define later on. We're going to call it localize time. And what that will do is we'll take the time object, localize it to our particular time zone of the current user logged in, and then return that resultant time zone variable. So once we pass that in and it returns, we'll have a rendered localized date time for our particular object. This is pretty convenient. We didn't have to write any backend code in the view. All we did is we can apply it in place where we need to convert a datetime object to a localized datetime object and go from there. So next we're going to go and work out what we need to do in order to create the template tag that we have created here, what is involved implementing that tag, as well as getting it included in the HTML that we have here. In order to have our template tags to be discoverable, you have to create them within an application that is in the installed apps and under a directory called template tags. So we're going to create a new folder called template tags, and we're then also going to then follow it up with a new init file. We're going to save that in our template tags directory so it is discoverable. We're then going to create another file called time tags. So we're going to go new file, time tags.py. We're going to save that in the same folder, and now we can go ahead and implement our datetime localizer for our template code. So we're going to import from Django, import template from DeLorean, because we're going to need DeLorean to parse the input that's coming in. So DeLorean parse. We're going to then register our template tags. This is a way that Django knows to register templates. So we're going to pass it the library. We're going to create a library instance and pass it to the file to the variable register. We're then going to implement our template tag. So using that register variable we just created, we're going to implement a simple tag which requires context, so takes context. So this will allow us to pass things from the context into the template tag so we can then trigger some behavior afterwards. So we're going to define our function here, which is going to be called localized time like we had before. It's going to take the context, which has to be the first variable in this particular case, and our string. Once we have that, we're going to make our string an actual string, because what ends up getting is the datetime variable that we pass in from our template. We're going to get our time zone variable, which is in the context of the view for that particular user. Context, which is a huge dictionary. We're going to ask for the time zone. We are then going to return, and then our function is going to be called localize datetime. We're going to pass it the time zone and a string. We're going to have to implement that function, so we're going to go def localize datetime, time zone, and string. and then we're going to get the game time from our function. So we're going to take the string, we're going to parse it. We are then going to shift that game time. This is a DeLorean object which is returned. A DeLorean object has a shift operator. So game time.shift. We're going to pass it the time zone that was passed in from the context. So whatever the time zone for that particular user. We are then going to return game time.datetime. But we're going to return it in a specific format. strf time. Let's see if I can get this right. We want it to be %year dash %month dash %day, and then we want the time. So %I colon %M, and then we want AM or PM. So %P, and that should give us the behavior that we're looking for our template tags. So it gets something from the context, which is our time zone. It gets the string or the variable we pass towards our function. We call a function localized datetime, which parses the string that is being returned. It shifts it to the corresponding time zone for the particular user, and then we print it and return it back to the screen, which should give us the same thing that as we originally had. So now that we have this implemented, we need to go ahead and change our HTML so that it loads the new template tags, as well as then calls our localized function on our object. Now that we've implemented our template tag, all we simply need to do is load that particular Python file. So we're going to use the load argument, just as you see above with the comments. We're going to go load time tags. We are then also going to rewrite our function here so that it uses the localized time function. So in order to do that, we have to run it through the braces. These percent signs mean run this function against the variable. So localize time. I'm going to go ahead and save that. And as you can see here, it is October 9th, 3 a.m. So we're going to end up going back 4 hours since I'm in the Eastern time zone. So we should expect to see October the 8th at 11 p.m. once we refresh. And there you have it, October the 8th, 11 p.m. Template tags can be useful for many things. They can be useful for formatting numbers. If you have some numbers on the page, you can format times and many other things. These are very convenient in the sense that if you're going to be using them in multiple spots, to implement them once in Python and have them show through in the templates. So we had to do anything mucky with Django templates to get the formatting correctly. You should probably give Django templates and simple tags a look. This concludes this week's screencast, and I'll see you guys next week.